Right now, you are probably feeling intensely guilty about spending your entire Sunday rotting on the couch. You have watched 6 straight hours of a show you don't even like. You haven't put on real pants, and the sheer thought of getting up to fold your laundry feels like an Olympic event. You do this all the time, without even thinking about it. But here's the thing. That heavy, immovable desire to do absolutely nothing isn't a glitch in your modern work ethic. It is actually one of the absolute oldest and most successful survival strategies humans have ever invented. It's older than writing. It's older than farming. It's millions of years older than our own species. The question is, why did evolution hardwire us to spend so much of our lives actively trying to do nothing? Let's go back to the very beginning, and I mean deep into the prehistoric wilderness. Roughly 3.3 million years ago, your incredibly distant ape-like ancestors were wandering the harsh environment of East Africa. Life back then was a brutal, unending math equation. The currency wasn't money, it was calories. Finding food was incredibly difficult. Every single step you took, every berry you picked, and every predator you ran away from cost you precious energy. If you burned more calories hunting and foraging than you got from eating the food you found, you died. It was that simple. So, early hominins had to be ruthlessly efficient. In 2015, archaeologists digging near Lake Turkana in Kenya uncovered the oldest stone tools ever found. They are known as Lamechwian tools, dating back 3.3 million years. For decades, we loved to imagine that early humans invented tools to become fierce, rugged hunters. But when modern researchers analyzed the microscopic wear patterns on these ancient stones, they realized they weren't weapons. They were mostly used for pounding roots and slicing tough, scavenged meat. Why? Because chewing raw, tough food takes hours and burns massive amounts of calories. By inventing a sharp rock to cut the meat outside the body, our ancestors outsourced their digestion. They saved incredible amounts of jaw energy. They literally invented the knife because they were too lazy to chew. If there was no immediate threat and no immediate food, moving your body was a terrible evolutionary decision. The apes that ran around for fun, or did prehistoric jumping jacks just to stay active, burned up their fat reserves and starved to death during the next drought. The apes that found a nice rock, sat down, and stared blankly at the horizon, they survived. Evolution literally selected for the chillest, most lethargic individuals on the savannah. Same. Yeah, I'd thrive in that environment too. Except, physical laziness is only half the story. Jump forward to roughly 2 million years ago. The climate dried out. Our ancestors, like Homo erectus, lost their thick body fur and were forced to walk massive distances across the open, blazing savannah just to find enough food. Logically, if you are walking 10 miles a day, your body should be burning through calories like a furnace. You should need to eat constantly. But we didn't. Biological anthropologist Herman Ponce spent years studying the Hadza people, a modern hunter-gatherer tribe in Tanzania. He wanted to understand exactly how ancient human metabolisms worked. He expected to find that these highly active foragers burned way more calories than lazy modern humans. He found something completely shocking. Even though the Hadza walk miles every single day, their bodies burn roughly the exact same number of total daily calories as a modern office worker sitting in a cubicle. How is that even biologically possible? Because the human body is the ultimate energy-saving machine. When we spend a ton of calories walking or hunting, our bodies secretly turn down the dial on other biological functions. We slow down our immune system. We reduce our stress responses. We aggressively balance the budget. We are biologically capped. But then, evolution decided to make things incredibly complicated. Around 300,000 years ago, we are officially anatomically modern humans, Homo sapiens. And we developed a biological superpower that completely changed the game. Our massive, hyper-advanced brains. But here is the problem. Brains are insanely expensive. Your brain only makes up about 2% of your total body weight, but it burns a staggering 20% of your resting daily calories. It is an absolute energy hog. To fuel our massive civilization-building brains without starving to death in the Ice Age, our ancestors had to aggressively conserve energy everywhere else. We physically weakened our own bodies, losing the massive muscles of other apes, just so we could afford to power our giant thoughts. Laziness wasn't just a luxury, it was a mandatory biological charging mode for our greatest weapon. But here's what makes this so important. Laziness didn't just keep us from starving, and it didn't just charge our brains. It is the exact reason we built the modern world. Think about it. We love to romanticize hard work. We glorify the grind. But hard physical labor is extremely dangerous in the ancient world. You get tired, you get injured, you die. The humans who survived weren't the ones who loved working hard. They were the ones who desperately wanted to work less. Laziness is the mother of all human invention. Look at the dawn of civilization. Roughly 12,000 years ago, humans got completely sick and tired of walking 10 miles a day just to find a handful of wild berries. It was exhausting. It was wildly inefficient. So, we went through the agricultural revolution. We dug up the wild plants, brought them back to our campsites, and planted them in the dirt right outside our front doors. We literally invented farming because we were too lazy to commute to the forest every day. But farming was brutally hard physical labor. We had to haul massive amounts of harvested grain and heavy building stones. A highly motivated, hard-working animal just keeps dragging the heavy rocks on its back until it collapses. But a chronically lazy, highly intelligent human, they look at the heavy rocks, get incredibly annoyed by the sheer physical effort, and invent the wheel. Around 5,500 years ago in ancient Mesopotamia, someone carved a piece of wood into a circle, just so they wouldn't have to carry things anymore. Every single piece of technology in human history is just a monument to our deep biological hatred of unnecessary physical effort. We didn't invent horseshoes and saddles because we loved animals. We invented them because walking hurts your feet. We didn't invent the washing machine because we love having clean clothes. We invented it because scrubbing wet tunics on a river rock takes hours of exhausting labor. We didn't invent mathematics to be smart. We invented it to quickly count our grain so we could go back to sleep. We literally innovated our way out of the food chain just so we could finally sit down. Think about that. Which brings us to the ultimate crisis you are facing today. Evolution is incredibly slow. It takes tens of thousands of years to naturally rewire a biological brain. But human culture and technology move at the speed of light. In the absolute blink of an evolutionary eye, we went from starving on the harsh African savanna to living in an era of digital abundance. Scientists call this an evolutionary mismatch. Your physical hardware is completely outdated for your modern software. You live in a world with massive, climate-controlled supermarkets. You can press a glowing glass rectangle and have a highly caloric pepperoni pizza delivered directly to your doorstep in 20 minutes. You don't have to hunt. You don't have to forage. You don't even have to stand up. But your brain doesn't know that. Your brain is perfectly preserved from the Pleistocene era. As far as your primal instincts are concerned, you are still living in a dangerous, unpredictable wilderness where the next meal is never guaranteed. So when you sit down on the couch on a Sunday afternoon, your brain floods your body with feel-good chemicals. It whispers, "Yes, perfect. Do not move. Conserve your energy. A famine is coming." Your brain genuinely believes it is saving your life by making you binge-watch 6 hours of reality television. It has absolutely no concept of modern exercise. If you go to a gym and run on a treadmill for an hour, your ancient brain is completely terrified. It thinks you are either running away from a leopard or chasing a gazelle. It cannot comprehend burning precious calories entirely for fun. We are heavily armed with a survival instinct for a world that simply doesn't exist anymore. So, here's the full picture. 3.3 million years ago, early hominins invented the very first stone tools because chewing raw meat burned too many calories. 2 million years ago, our bodies capped our daily energy burn to keep us from starving on long walks across the savannah. 300,000 years ago, we used all that conserved energy to power our massive, highly advanced brains. 12,000 years ago, We hated walking so much we invented farming and built the first permanent human cities. And 5,000 years ago, our absolute hatred of physical labor forced us to invent the wheel and build global civilizations. Right now, you are probably still feeling intensely guilty about spending your entire Sunday rotting on the couch. But the next time you feel a wave of guilt for skipping the gym, or you choose the path of least resistance at work, give yourself a break. You aren't broken. You aren't glitching. Your desire to do nothing is the lingering echo of a multi-million-year success story. You are the direct, wildly successful descendant of the most incredibly efficient, brilliantly energy-saving survivors in the history of planet Earth. You are the lazy ape that conquered the world. If you enjoyed this deep dive into our weird human history, stick around and check out another video. No pressure though. See you in the next one.